And welcome to Chapter 3 in this tutorial covering the 7298 exam. In this chapter we will be creating the logical security design, and this is a continuation of topics that we've identified in the first two chapters here, where we've identified some of the guideposts or some of the things that should be guiding your actions. And now we talk about more of the specific implementations or specific procedures and technologies that will help you implement what you're aiming towards that we've talked about in the first two modules. And we start with a discussion of designing a public key infrastructure. Every one of the guideposts that was mentioned in Chapter 2, the authentication, the non-repudiation, and so on, all of these can be implemented through the use of a public key infrastructure or certificate services. So a certificate services is the Windows 2003 server or the Server 2003 technology that can implement a public-private key infrastructure. And to really fully understand this, you need to understand all of the different components of a public key infrastructure. And these things can include digital certificates, a certification authority, a certification hierarchy, certificate revocation list, and a certificate policy statement. A digital certificate, which we'll talk about in the next module, and by the way, this is one of those topics that has been discussed elsewhere, and I'm going to include a couple of other modules that I've done in other VTC tutorials to help you just understand or review, maybe if you need to, just exactly how to implement or what a digital certificate is. We briefly define them here, but a digital certificate is the digital equivalent or the computing equivalent of your ID or your driver's license. It is a collection of data that has a public-private key pair associated with it, and it can be used for authentication, authorization, and lots of other security controls. Other aspects, as we mentioned, of a public key infrastructure include a certification authority, and this is an entity or an organization that controls the issuance of public and or private certificates. So you can make a Server 2003 computer into a certification authority, or you can rely on certification authorities such as VeriSign for the issuance and the maintenance of digital certificates. A certification hierarchy then is a collection of servers of entities that issue certificates. And this certification hierarchy starts at a certificate root or one root in a certification hierarchy, and then all other CAs or certification authorities in that certification hierarchy receive their certificates from that CA root. Certificate revocation list, moving down our list of pieces of the public key infrastructure puzzle here, is just simply a list of certificates that have been issued but now have since been revoked, and along with that is a list of the reasons why those certificates have been revoked. Finally, a certificate policy statement is a formal document that describes the management of the CA, or the certification authority. So we look at that in a separate topic here, the certificate policy statement. As I mentioned, it's a formal document. It's actually been documented or defined by the American Bar Association and would include information such as the security for the network where the CA lives, the purpose of issued certificate by the CA, the certification authority, a list of certificate policies that are implemented by the CA. It would include the certificate lifetime, any policies that govern the revocation of certificates, and any policies for the certification authority renewal. So all of these things, all of these components make up a public key infrastructure, and again, the importance is that it can be used to implement almost all of the guideposts that have been discussed so far in your implementation of network infrastructure security. And so in the next modules, we just really review some of the button pushing, and now finally we actually get to do something on the computer where we will set up a certification authority using our Windows Server 2003 computers.